Going up.
Prices keep going up these days. It feels like being on an elevator that only goes up.
Going up.
But not at Metro. We're pushing the down button.
Going down.
We've lowered prices and give you a 5-year price guarantee on talk, text, and data. Get one line of 5G data for $40, period. That's 20% lower. Only at Metro.
5-year guarantee on eligible plans. Exclusions apply. See website for details. Not available at Metro with T-Mobile in the past 6 months. Tax applies.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
What A.J. Brown did was kind of a launching point for lives getting changed around the world. My life changed, but I'm one person out of 8 billion. Like, that's not a big deal. What's a big deal is millions of lives that are going to get changed.
Welcome to Story and Craft. Now, here's your host, Mark Preston.
All right, here we go. Back again, another episode of Story and Craft. Good to have you back. Hey, if this is your very first episode, thank you so much for stopping by. Glad to have you, most certainly. Today, we're sitting down with author Jim Murphy. Now, you may remember if you were watching the Philadelphia Eagles play the Green Bay Packers in a wild card game back, I believe it was January. Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown was on the sideline while he wasn't playing, and he was reading a book. The book is called Inner Excellence, and Jim Murphy is the author. Really interesting journey he was on. Glad that we have the opportunity to learn more about it. He was a professional athlete. His mother comes from a samurai background. A great journey you and I get to learn more about. So really enjoy the opportunity to speak with Jim and share it with you. Do me a favor, if you would, take a moment, whatever podcast app you use, make sure you like and follow the show. That way you get notified every time a new episode comes out. Plus, leave some stars, leave a review. It really does help people find Story and Craft. And also, if you would, head to storyandcraftpod.com. You can find out everything you could possibly want to know about the show, past guests, everything. It's right there. You can even shoot me a note and say hello. Love getting messages from you. And there's also something new on the site. It's been there a little bit. If you go and look on the screen, there's a little coffee cup right at the bottom of the screen. You can also click on the Supercast logo. Coming up soon, got some cool things that are going to be coming available. It's just a cool way to support the show, which is greatly appreciated. Really jazzed to have you here every episode. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today is Jim Murphy Day, right here on Story and Craft. Where are you joining me from today?
New York City.
Is that a home base for you, or is that are you just traveling about?
I live in Seattle. I'm here as actually a United Talent Agency using their office. But I'm also here to narrate the audiobook for Inner Excellence.
Oh, you're getting ready to go on a long journey there.
We're just finishing up the audio. We've got one more day.
Where are you originally from?
Seattle. Grew up in Seattle.
I saw that you had spent a little time with my team, the Rangers. So that kind of like, got to talk to this guy. So
where are you at?
I'm originally from Dallas, but I live down in South Padre Island, very tip of the South Texas coast.
Oh, that was famous for spring break. Spring break. I don't know if it still is.
Oh, yeah. It's not as dense as it once was, but I know in the street I live, there are some rental properties and or some, short-term rentals. And yeah, we had a fair amount of spring breakers on my street, which my dog just really enjoyed because they walk down my street to get to the beach. So did you start off as an athlete? Was that your original game plan?
That's correct.
So it was baseballs where you kind of started off originally. Is that your first sport?
Well, my first sport, I wouldn't say it was my first sport. I mean, I played professionally in the minors for 5 years. When I was in grade school, I played 6 sports, I think.
So is that like a big thing in your family? Or is it just like a big thing with you? You just really kind of took to it?
Yeah, it was not a big thing with I'm the youngest of 5. I think my parents are like, whoa, what happened to this 5th one? What's going on here? Every sport? And we're not used to this. So, very unique compared to my siblings.
So where did you go to college?
I went to Bellevue College in Seattle for 2 years, and then I played baseball there, transferred to Portland State University in Oregon, played 1 year there, signed with the Cubs, and then played 3 years in the minors, got injured, didn't touch a batter ball for 3 years, then played semi-pro for a year, then played professionally 2 more years. During that time, I went back and played college football, University of British Columbia. So after not having played for 8 years.
So you had a kind of a unique arc of experience, moving about. Were you kind of set on, okay, sports it's going to be, part of my life forever? This is going to be my thing.
I was definitely obsessed. It was a full-on obsession since I was little. I was going to be a superstar. And that was all I wanted, nothing else.
I always looked at when I got to school and there were these girls who were doing and guys who were doing gymnastics. When they had practice before school, I'm like, I would never play a sport where I had to practice before school. And then, there's just no way.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like rowers. Look at like that is intense. Or swimmers.
With your time with the Rangers, what was your coaching duty there? Were you with the team in Arlington, or were you with one of their farm system teams?
Yeah, I was in the farm system. So the way it works as a pro baseball coach is very similar to a player. So a player gets drafted, they go usually to single A, and then try and work their way up double A, triple A, major leagues. And so it's similar to coaching. So I started off with the Savannah Sand Gnats. I was the hitting coach. So typically on a professional baseball team in the minor leagues, they'll have the head coach as the manager. And then they have assistant coach, 2 assistants. One's the pitching coach, deals with the pitchers, and then the other assistant deals with the hitters. And so I was the hitting assistant coach.
So is your coaching, like you're developing your, I don't want to say style, but kind of you're developing a better understanding, I guess, not just of yourself as an athlete, but of, how to impart that knowledge on other folks. I'm assuming that was a different skill. Was that hard for you to do that, to transition from playing it to coaching it at all?
Well, I'll tell you kind of what I learned, a few things. Typically, I would guess 90% of pro baseball coaches have no training. They're just players. I shouldn't say just. They're players who the coach liked and said, hey, you want to coach? Mm-hmm. And their career's over. What else they got to do? Sure. That's 90% of pro baseball coaches or players that decide to coach without any training. They have no training in coaching per se. They have training in playing. What I did was completely different. I had no interest in coaching, and my career was over. I'm in my 20s. I'm in Seattle, driving a truck for FedEx, downtown Seattle. My college teammate was coaching at O'Day High School, inner city Seattle, and he said, Jim, would you take over my team? And I took over his team, and then we went undefeated, and then I decided I wanted to become a coach.
But how long ago was this when you kind of made that next transition in your life from doing, something in the working world? It's like, okay, this coaching thing rocks. I want to do this. Yeah.
So like I said, I had no interest in coaching. And then I asked to coach the high school team. I got off work downtown Seattle at 3 p.m. The school was downtown Seattle. Practice started at 3:30. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I just had no interest, no idea if I could help anybody or if it would be fun at all. And then they had a losing record the year before. We never lost. And so I was like, oh, and then I had so much fun with the kids. So that's when I was like, okay, I want to be a major league manager. So that started this journey of, well, how do I go from coaching 15-year-olds to managing the Yankees in the World Series or the Rangers? And so then I ended up getting a master's at University of British Columbia, started the baseball team there, went and played football for them. My plan was to get a master's in PE and then get a job teaching PE at a high school in the States, and then so I can pay the bills and then coach the team to win a championship, get a job in college and do the same thing, and then work my way up.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense if you're a PE coach, but you're coming from a professional. It seems like only a matter of time before they put you in a position of coaching the baseball team. Is that kind of the way you think, is like, okay, you see the target where you want to go and you just start kind of mapping it out immediately? Or is that kind of the way you usually assemble your path, as it were?
Yeah, my personality is, as I look back on it, I guess kind of obsessive compared to the average person. I mean, it's not very typical to give away over half your possessions and move to the desert to live a life of solitude. That's, I think, fairly atypical. Mm-hmm. I'm growing up obsessed about being a superstar, and then spending 5 years full-time writing and researching the book Inner Excellence. That's not super common. I'm not saying these are great things. Like, I think someone with less fear than me would have finished the book much sooner. It wouldn't have taken them 5 years. It was a combination of the perfectionism, which really can limit your freedom, and then fear, I think.
It's the first time a lot of people get introduced to you. I mean, you put a book out there, it's out there permanently. I mean, I would be nervous about putting it out there,
Yeah.
But to kind of go back to when you were younger, what do you think was the impetus for that initial drive? Saying, okay, I want to be a professional athlete. I want to do this. What made you want to kind of set that bar like exceptionally high for yourself out of the gate? Was there family influence in that? Were you just who you're watching on TV or reading, or what was that for you?
Well, I think one thing that is unique is my mom's samurai background. And so she's grew up in Japan and had the samurai lineage. And so we talk about that in the book. And I think that's unique. Her extreme discipline, I think, was obviously part of my personality. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. My mom was very disciplined. I wasn't, or haven't been. But I think that culture that I grew up in, I guess growing up, I just felt I was destined for greatness as a superstar athlete. I always really had big dreams when I was little. And I just thought the best possible life was to be a superstar athlete and be on the cover of magazines. And I was going to live that life. And then when I got injured and lost it all, it was really devastating. And so since then, I've realized that what I've always really wanted was to feel fully alive. I just thought the best possible life was to have all the girls and have the guys, want to be you and have all the money and fame. And that's what I thought it was. And obviously now I realize it's much different.
When you're younger, you're driven by different things for different reasons. Some make sense, some don't. I had this hard-headed mentality on a lot of stuff. Somebody said, well, this thing you want to do, it's, competitive, or a lot of people want to do it or whatever. I was like, well, somebody's got to do it, might as well be me, it's like that kind of blissful thing when you're young of not really understanding what might be stacked against you is probably helpful too. But now you mentioned your mother having the samurai background, which is awesome. What was your father's background? Where was he originally from?
Yeah, his family came over from Ireland, and so he was born in Minnesota and grew up on a farm.
So did your mother move over here with her family, or did they meet somewhere overseas?
Yeah, my dad joined the Air Force and was a code breaker in the Air Force, and then met my mom in Tokyo.
Do you have a connection to, or is there sort of like a visceral vibe you got like that connects you to that aspect, that culture that, through your mother or?
Oh, yes, for sure. It feels like if there can be a connection that's deeper than just personality, I feel like I have it. There's so many things to love about Japan for anyone. I think like the safety is incredible, maybe the safest country in the world. Mm-hmm. The cleanliness, it's like spotless, and even Tokyo, and the food, incredible. The honor, the smiles and bows, the politeness. There's so many amazing things.
One of the things I like that they still do over there is you must have business cards on you. That's one of those OG things I still like is business cards. There's a almost not ceremony, but it's sort of like you shake somebody's hand, you also give them your business card. But for you, what is it that if you could define a couple things or even one thing that you find that really resonates with you, that you feel like, okay, that's my connection, whether it be something historical, something, an experience you had, something that kind of says,
I think about that now. I realize I really like order, having kind of a perfectionist personality in the past. And so the cleanliness, the order of the trains, and then the honor, and that's a huge thing that I really is so important to me, honor and respect. Not getting it for myself, but giving it. And I see that there. When I compare America to Japan, both countries have amazing qualities. And I think one of the basic differences in America is that it's a very individual-oriented culture. Japan is a very group-oriented. That's much more my style, community-oriented. I'm not saying, I do think it's how we're created to live in community. Like when I say community, the community I mean is sharing your things in common and serving others. But I think every culture in the world is more community oriented than America.
I believe that as well. Yeah.
America is very individual oriented, and that's got some great things. Like when you're very group oriented, the individual can get lost. When you're very individual oriented and human nature is to be self-centered, now we can run into a lot of fear, anxiety, and finger pointing and turf guarding and self-protection. And so that happens a lot in America. I love America's the sports culture because obviously I love sports and the people are amazing. And so
I think I remember watching, it was Anthony Bourdain. He went to a baseball game in Japan. I like the crowd aspect of Japanese baseball. What it reminds me of is a Japanese version, people that are really into soccer, like it's part of your identity almost. I've always wanted to go to a baseball game in Japan. Have you been to one before?
Yeah, it's amazing. It is very much much more like an American football game or soccer game where it's nonstop cheering and yeah, it's pretty cool.
So if you were to say the samurai culture, Japanese culture, what aspects of that in your theory that found its way into your book, what aspects of Japanese culture translated, do you think, to your philosophy on life and success and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sacrificial love, surrender, honor, ego mastery. I think those are the biggest ones.
Which in professional sports, I think that ego mastery thing, if you get a hold of that, that's, I don't know, just the baseball players I grew up watching, the ones that just kind of seem to be cool cats, just like my guy was Nolan Ryan, and when Ventura charged him out, he got in a fight, and he's got blood all over him. He's like, I'm going to keep on playing. I was like, there's this kind of like steadiness to these guys, which I don't know. At a certain level, I think. I don't know that to be in your 40s and playing a game, going from being a young man and doing it to then, I think there's a certain kind of wisdom. I don't know, but which baseball player did you meet that probably was the most influential in terms of, not most influential, but somebody that gave you some nuggets of wisdom and guidance that really resonated with you?
I read Ted Williams' book, and that inspired me because I wanted to be the greatest hitter ever. My high school baseball coach. He's the first one that ever told me. He was my summer league and my high school coach, and I had no idea. Like, just making the varsity when I was a kid was such a big deal to me. And then what he told me was possible for me. It was like just completely changed my world. I was like, I had no idea that I could, one day be a pro baseball player. And so Larry Book was very instrumental. Ken Griffey Jr. was, we're about the same age, and actually one of my teammates played on his team, and I got to sit down with him one time, and he was amazing. Ken Griffey Jr., the Hall of Fame outfielder, Masters photographer.
You said Masters photographer?
Yeah, he was at the Masters.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I told somebody this yesterday. I'll tell you, it was kind of funny. My grandfather back in 2004 was passing away, and he was still very sharp. It was a couple of weeks before he was at the hospital before he passed, and and I did voice. He understood the radio thing. He didn't understand the voiceover thing. And so, out of the blue, I was like, I did this project, and the producer sent me the video because I did the voiceover for it. He said, you can take that with you, because I was flying back to Dallas and checking in on him, and I was like, I can show him this really cool project. And he did not understand the voiceover thing, what I did. He had a general idea, but I played it for him. He's like, now I get what you do. And it was me. It was 2000. Yeah, it was 2004. I became the voice of the Baseball Hall of Fame. I said, see, I said, look, your grandson's in the Hall of Fame. So we got a laugh out of that. But when I was working on the project, it was like you really look at baseball, for me, has like a deep history. It's everybody's pulling from somebody that inspired them before. So there's this daisy chain you can connect all the way back to Babe Ruth or whatever have you. But who did you talk sports story with when you were younger, like grandfather, father? Yeah,
I didn't have that. So my family was very, very strict, I guess, and it wasn't sports oriented. Like I said, I was the last of 5 kids, and all of a sudden this kid wants to play every single sport. And so in our family, it was more being a pro athlete would probably not be good for you because it would create pride and
okay,
and maybe financial abundance could create other issues as well. And I agree, it's dangerous. So I didn't really have that.
Were you kind of the outlier even with your friends? Like you were the one with the ultra drive and they're just wanting some fun sport to play, or did you have somebody in your tribe that was also equally driven that you could come up with?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I feel like all of my friends kind of wanted to be superstar Major League Baseball players, like who didn't, or NFL or NBA. But on the flip side, the Lake Young's Elementary was right next to our yard in the soccer field, and I would go into the woods and cut a tree branch off and make a baseball bat, and then I would sit I would stand in the parking lot, the gravel parking lot, and I would hit rocks into the woods for hours and hours, like 4 or 5 hours a day, just hitting them into the woods and just playing these games with myself, full 9-inning games, and so I never met another kid that did that. And so I guess that was somewhat unique. I read Brooks Robinson did that with a broomstick. And then I feel bad for Brooks because a broomstick would be horrible to do it. Like there's no way he was hitting rocks as far as I was, even though he's a Hall of Famer, with that little broomstick. Because you need, obviously, with a broomstick, there's no head on it. It's only like an inch in the barrel.
You had that initial, I don't say initial, but you're a kid. You had a mindset, laser sharp focus. You want to do this thing. Looking back on that, did you feel like that was a good thing, not good thing, or did you have any feeling on that? That's just kind of where you're at as far as being that young and having that kind of like singular focus.
I think it's a great thing to have big dreams, and I think most people, the older they get, the smaller their dreams get because they keep getting hurt and they fail and then they get wounded and I don't want to try that again. I don't want to risk that again. And that's what. So by the time people become adults, they're hurt so many times they just keep shrinking back, and so that's why I get inspired when people have big dreams. And most people's dreams are just way too small. Even if your dream's to be world number one, it's way too small because you don't even know if that's going to make you happy. And so. Pursuing a dream of living with fullness of life and making a difference in the world, now that's powerful.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
Tired of losing power? Feeling powerless? Call Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, Electric today for a free estimate on a whole home standby generator. Never be without power again. Fully installed systems starting at just $99 a month. Power your sump pump, your fridge, your freezer, your garage doors, your heating and cooling so your home stays safe and comfortable. Four Seasons is the largest and most award-winning Generac dealer in Illinois.
Right reasons. Call 866-4 Seasons.
Hey, it's Mark Preston, and I would like to tell you a little bit about one of our sponsors, X-Chair. Whether you're working from home or in the office, if you have a job or a task that has you sitting for a long period of time, this is the chair for you. Very comfortable, very customizable. They'll make it pretty much any way you want it. The look, the feel, the fabrics, everything. Plus, this is the kind of chair you can adjust to make it fit you just right. No matter your body type, it's spot on. I love my X-Chair. It has the Elemax cooling, heating, and massage technology. It is going to make your lower back feel so very good. Got to throw a little bit of love to X-Chair. It's the chair I'm sitting in every time I talk to a guest. So I've had a lot of time to have my tush in this chair, and the tush, the back, everybody's happy. Just go to storyandcraftpod.com/chair. Once again, X-Chair, check it out, storyandcraftpod.com/chair. Love my X-Chair. Your back will thank you. If you could say, okay, this is the target, this is the personality I want to reach with my thoughts, in this book, who do you think that would be?
Well, initially I set out to write the best book ever written on performance for professional athletes. That was the plan. And then what I found when I was in the desert was that the path to the best possible life and the path to the most peace and confidence under the most pressure was the same path. And so it's a wholehearted path where you learn to be fully engaged in the moment, unattached to the results of what you're trying to do. And so that's for all of us. Anyone that wants to live with fullness of life. And so if you learn to do that, then you'll be a better performer, better school teacher, better mom, etc.
You got to tell me more about this desert experience. I got to know a little bit more because you've alluded to it a couple of times. What kind of, I guess, elaborate what happened, what was the impetus of doing that, and what was the outcome, as it were.
Yeah, my baseball career ended in my 20s with an injury, and I was driving a truck for FedEx, and then that's when I got asked to coach the high school baseball team. And then I worked my way into the pros, and that really that 1 year with the Rangers, it just was. I felt like a failure because I left midway through the season, and it wasn't a good fit. I wasn't able to coach, and they just wanted me to watch and pay attention. And but then after that, coaching the Olympics with South Africa, extraordinary experience. Love that team, love those guys, and but. So after the Olympics, that's when I went back to being a personal trainer, which I did in grad school to pay the bills. And I went back to doing that, trying to figure out what to do with my life. And then that's when my girlfriend, Maria, she said, she could tell I was getting restless. I'm trying to figure out, I always wanted to do something extraordinary. And then she kind of asked me what I was doing with my life. And that's when I decided to give away over half my possessions, and including my TV. This is before streaming. Move to the desert and live a life of solitude to find something that I could devote my life to.
What did that give you? What was your experience, even just the solitude aspect of it?
Well, it was lonely. One of my first New Year's Eve, I'm in an empty house, and I hear a noise, and I go outside and I see fireworks. And that's when I first found out it was New Year's. So, yeah, and I got rid of my TV because I didn't want to waste my time in the desert, be totally lonely, and waste that time watching TV. So I knew I had to get rid of the TV as well. So that's what I did, and yeah, it was hard, but I did that so I just wanted to make sure I found something that I could devote my life to, some worthy cause, and so initially I thought that worthy cause was to be a personal coach to pro baseball players and teach them how to have peace and confidence under pressure, which I still do. But now I realize that was far too low of a goal. Now I try to make a difference in the lives of people, especially athletes and leaders all over the world. Share God's love, wisdom, and courage with them.
How long were you in the desert for?
2.5 years.
Wow, that's a nice stretch. What did your friends, family, what kind of feedback were they giving you on this decision you made to be in the desert?
Well, there's two things. One, it's not like I was in a teepee. I was in town and I lived in a house. Well, I lived in the baseball academy. My friend Ricky's the one that invited me down to help him. So I helped him out part-time, and I lived there for a few months. There's no showers, so I showered at the gym. And then, so yeah, being there 2.5 years, it was lonely. Actually, my parents and sister moved in for part of that time, but I would leave like at 7 a.m. and come back at 8 p.m. Just go to the coffee shop all day to work on the book or work at the academy. The reason why I left is because I knew that my family. It all actually started off with the show Ellen from the 80s or whenever in the 90s. Uh-huh. This one episode, she was moving out from her best friend's apartment, and her friend was like, "Why are you leaving?" And she was like, her friend was like, "Why are you leaving? We have the best time together. We can sit around and just do nothing and just have so much fun." And she said, "That's why I'm leaving. Because we have so much fun together and can do nothing together. And in 5 years, I can still be here and have done nothing for 5 years. That's why I need to go." And so I thought that exact thing. If I stay here, my friends and family will say, "Why would you leave? Your life's great. Don't do anything different. We love you. Your clients love you. No need to leave." And I knew I had to get away from anyone that was going to stop me from thinking completely new thoughts. And if anything was possible, like I always suggest for any question, always start with, if anything's possible, what would you do? Not looking at your current circumstances and looking up. We want to look at it, if anything's possible, and work backwards from there. And so I wanted to start with a fresh slate and not have anyone that knew my prior life to think of me in terms that would hold me back.
There's a through line from your mother with the samurai background. Did it kind of resonate with her at all? Kind of like, okay, this is you're doing a thing that's You're not trying to be as a big athlete, earning all this money or doing something. You're going within, Did she dig that? Did she think that was cool?
My mom had such a big influence on my life with her discipline and her passion. I was so kind of obsessive, determined. I just, kind of made my own decision. And, I think my parents were probably concerned, like most parents would be, like, what is this kid doing? But I mean, I wasn't a kid anymore. I was, I think, I don't know, 30s, early 30s. So, but, yeah, it does have some of that, I guess, Japanese culture-ish, samurai Zen possibilities around it.
Well, now you're talking about setting the goals and basically setting a high bar. What are you looking at now in life? And, you've got this book and you're doing the audiobook portion, which I know can be a bear. What goals are you now setting? What things are starting to come into focus that would make sense for you for something else to go after?
My whole life, I'm obsessed about being a superstar. And even before January 12th, when everything kind of changed with A.J. Brown reading the book on the sidelines against the Packers, there's been so much work on trying to build a life. And most of my life is like trying to build a life like most people. And so now it's definitely shifted to not trying to build a life or anything for me, really. Although I will gladly participate in anything that happens. I want to make a difference all over the world. So I'm so grateful that the book's going to be translated into, so far, I don't know, 25 languages or something like that. And with the worldwide launch coming up, and really excited for the launch around the world.
That's got to be exciting, especially just the amount of work and heart and effort you put into it. That's a wonderful accomplishment. We saw A.J. Brown on the sidelines reading it. I mean, did you see it or did somebody tell you about it? And then how did you find out?
I was in a hotel room watching Penn State play Notre Dame, a bowl game that was a couple weeks old. And then I saw my text and I thought my mom had died because she was dying. That's why I thought there were so many texts. But people were telling me that I got to watch this football game.
Have you had an opportunity to chat with A.J. Brown about it? Like, hey, by the way, thanks for reading my book. Or have you had any interaction with him?
Yeah, I have. Great guy. Very soft-spoken, nice guy. We've talked a few times, and I think I want to make sure that people realize that this is what A.J. Brown did was kind of a launching point for lives getting changed around the world. My life changed, but I'm one person out of 8 billion. Like, that's not a big deal. What's a big deal is millions of lives that are going to get changed.
Do you have any kids by any chance?
Not yet. I have nephews and nieces.
Let's say, one of your nephews or nieces says to you, who should I watch right now? Like, who do you think is an athlete who would inspire me in all the right ways? Who do you think out there, or even some guys from the past?
Well, my nephews and nieces are almost all Hutterites. They don't have TVs. Hutterite is like an Amish, so they make their own clothes, live on the farm.
Oh, really?
And so they're not looking at athletes as role models. I think what A.J. Brown did was really powerful, because what he did was he showed us all that, yes, you do have time to read. Mm-hmm. If he can get it done, then you can get it done. Like, you're no busier than he is. And the other thing that he did was he showed us that he just provided an example of, hey, I'm going to be true to myself. Like, I know people may think this is crazy, or I don't know what they're going to think, but I know reading Inner Excellence on the Sidelines helps me get centered and focused, and I'm going to do it. And whatever they want to think, they can think. And so him staying true to himself is a powerful thing.
Now, what are you working on next? Do you have any? Are you thinking, okay, another book? Or you do you have any other projects you're working on right now?
I sure do. Well, we've got. I've got a book that's coming out called The Best Possible Life, How to Live with Deep Contentment, Joy, and Confidence No Matter What. It's actually on Amazon now, but we're relaunching it for, I believe it's going to be a hardcover in the fall. So that'll probably come out, I think, end of September in bookstores all over the world. And then working on a workbook for inner excellence. And so that'll come out in 2026.
So
likely to be a podcast coming out as well, probably sometime in the next 6 months.
Being sedentary isn't something that you're really down with. It sounds like you got like to be constant forward momentum motion, whatever have you.
I think I've in my mind have been one of the laziest people I know, while simultaneously taking on a lot more than I can handle historically. Like always wanting, like, if anything's possible, let's try it. Yeah, I think discipline is something that and self-centeredness, two things that I really could use a lot of improvement on. As far as having big dreams and goals, I mean, I think that's been part of me for my whole life.
What you mentioned with A.J. Brown. The other thing is you can always be learning. That learning never stops and the growth never stops. And I think that was one big takeaway. If somebody's sitting there reading, I'm always kind of thinking, well, they're trying to get some new knowledge, Yeah. But if they're reading a book like yours, obviously they're trying to keep building, keep moving, Do you enjoy working more with like college, high school, professional? Is there a certain age or station of athlete that you like to work with?
My favorite person, I always want to work with someone that's really motivated. That wants to make a difference in the world. That's probably my favorite. I think I love sports, and so if they're involved in sports, that's amazing. But it could be a musician or anybody really that's really motivated, wants to do something great with their life, make a difference in the world. I love young kids, especially high school and college. I just love their dreaming big and fearlessness and just such great ideals. And I want to be around that sort of energy. And so that's always very inspiring. I also love people that want to live out their faith and are willing to sacrifice to do it.
Podcasting isn't just evolving, it's having a full-blown identity crisis. I'm Allison Marino, host of What's a Podcast? The Revolution Redefined, a new series that pulls back the curtain on the forces shaping the medium now and what that means for all of us who love podcasts. I'm really excited to share the official trailer where you'll hear from some of the biggest names in the space. Ira Glass, Leo Laporte, Guy Raz, Hernan Lopez, Lex Friedman, A.J. Feliciano, Dan Granger, and yeah, me too. Here it is now.
I still want to kill the word podcast.
That's not just a hot take. It's a symptom of an identity crisis.
Big company run media, and people are trusting it less and less. That it's really important that we're independent.
There's a handful of companies that control the vast majority of podcast inventory and that have the vast majority of the gigantic shows.
We left radio behind for a reason. We wanted to get away from all the gatekeepers.
I don't know that you could do this as effectively in video.
Podcasting is at a crossroads. I've watched the industry swing from hype to consolidation to reinvention. But this time it's different. From the producers of the documentary Age of Audio, Oxford Road presents the Media Roundtable special series. What's a podcast? The Revolution Redefined.
All of us who work in the media, we got to run a business and we got to make a living and we got to sell our ads and we got to do all that. But we all got into it because I think most of us, it just gave us a feeling.
A 3-part series where you'll hear the leading industry voices give their takes on what podcasting has become and where it's headed next. Teaming up with Oxford Road and Age of Audio director Sean Colon for this series was fun, but also kind of a wake-up call. If you love this medium as much as I do, you've got to listen to What's a Podcast? The Revolution Redefined. It's out now, wherever you get your podcasts.
I have something I do called my 7 questions. Last thing we do, a little extra fun. The first question I got is, what is your favorite comfort food? That thing, bad day, good day, doesn't make a difference. It just makes you feel good.
Oh, sushi. Yeah, I love sushi. I mean, New York City is it's dangerous.
I'm very envious. We have one on the island here, but I miss really good sushi. Now, if you were to sit down with 3 folks, you're going to talk story, a few hours, have a cup of coffee. living or not, who would those three people be you would like to sit down with for hours?
Well, we
and
would
have
take away
conversations?
Jesus Christ, because obviously that would be obvious. I think that doesn't take much thought. Creator of the universe. If we take away him, it would probably be Solomon, the wisest person ever. Probably Moses, the most humble person ever, or at least at his time. And I think humble is and wisdom go together. And so that would be pretty amazing. And then kind of talk about the whole Red Sea thing. Hey, what was that like? That must have been pretty cool. The third one would be King David. He was very human and made some horrible mistakes. And when I think of, he's someone that really inspires me because he has turned into such an extraordinary world-changing person. But he did some horrible things and God forgave him. So when I think about my life and how some things that I've done have not been good, I was like, well, I didn't kill people, and I wasn't a murderer and an adulterer and all those things that David did. And so and he went on to do great things. And so I think those three would be.
I'm curious if it would be coffee or tea or what y'all be drinking at that. I would say coffee because that's my thing. If you were to go back when you were a young guy, you were a teen, who was your first celebrity crush that you had?
I don't know. I mean, this kind of would date me a little bit, but she's in a movie with Rob Lowe, Demi Moore.
Oh, yeah.
When I was young.
She's had a great revival lately, of doing some, she's always been working, but, some great stuff out right now. Now, the next question, if you're going to be living on an island, exotic, beautiful, wonderful, it's like a resort. You want to be there. It's a great place, but you're going to have to be there a whole year. And you don't have streaming, though. So if you want to listen to an album, you got to bring a CD. And if you want to watch a movie, you got to bring a DVD because there's no streaming. So what CD and what DVD would you bring? And it can be a box set. I'll say that. But what would you bring to the island with you?
Well, the music, hopefully I could bring an iPod with my music playlist because I listen to a morning playlist, the same playlist every day. That lines up with my purpose. And so that would be my hope, that I could have my iPod to listen to that playlist every day. Because the playlist is pleasure is the smallest part of it. There's helping me feel connected to my purpose and to God, and then expanding my beliefs about who I am and what's possible, and then the good feeling from it. So that playlist is important. Movie, I would say the Chosen series, just so I can get inspired and be reminded of who I am.
Now, if you were to define from beginning to end, stem to stern, the component parts of a perfect day for you, what would that be?
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so I'm going to wake up and I'm going to point to heaven like I always do and say, Father, I belong to you, and put on the morning playlist. I'm going to have the ice water for my face to do the immersion. And then we're going to sit outside in the with some view, sun on my face, and have the quiet time with God, the 10 minutes with the worship music going on. And then we're going to have the board game set up, ready to go with the coffee, overlooking a beautiful view. Play that board game. And then the massage therapist comes in, gets me ready for the golf. We go off to the golf, play the golf, come back, have an amazing meal, probably sushi, another board game, maybe some pickleball, maybe mix in some fly fishing if we got time, and then have another amazing meal, maybe some Thai curry, and then finish with board games. The whole time talking about inner excellence, how to live the best possible life, a life connected to the Creator.
Yeah, that's a very dense day. Some people want to have a very leisurely day. That's the opposite of whatever leisurely is. That's very cool. Now, if you were to, if somebody said to you, okay, now this thing you're doing now, you can't do it anymore. It's, you got to find some other vocation. This is just not going to be what you do. What would be the number one thing outside of this that would bring you joy?
Joy. Now we're talking. I like that word. Joy. Well, when you say joy, if you mean a deep sense of well-being, freedom, and gratitude, independent of circumstances, it could really be anything. But I think it would probably be a fly fishing, pickleball, golfing guide. where I'm just golfing, playing pickleball, and
that actually sounds cool. If you got to, let's go back to that big island, where you've got beautiful golf courses, and you spend your whole day just doing that. That's one thing I love about living here. Is people come on vacation, they're having the best time ever. I'm like, that's like a vibe I really kind of enjoy because you got families here and even spring breakers, and you kind of.
I would love to have a retreat center where people come and they feel like so much peace and joy when they come. And it's so beautiful that they never want to leave, and they feel so healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and they feel like they left a better person. They've learned and grown just by being there, and they had so much fun playing board games and pickleball and things like that. That would be pretty amazing.
That would be awesome. Kind of like a retreat that it's multi-focused. It's like you're still having fun, you're learning. Yeah, that's
an Excellence Retreat Center.
There you go. So I'm going to keep an eye. I'm going to be watching when you open that up, man. I'm going to be at your front door like, let me in. So the last question I got for you, if you could get into that DeLorean and travel back to when you're 16 years old, you're going to have a few minutes with your younger self, and you got a piece of advice to either make that moment better or kind of get you on a different trajectory to something what you think is better. What would that piece of advice be to 16-year-old you?
Oh, yeah. So what's happened to me in my life is that and I think this is very human, is to get so caught up in the circumstances and just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. This is so terrible. And get so like nearly suicidal. I think that's very common for a kid and for adults to be like, oh, my life is over. I can't believe this. I've got no hope, nothing. I mean, we've all been through that. And then I would go back and say, look, Jim, you're going to go through training because God loves you so much. He's going to do a lot of training for you. And it's not just training that's just to be a better person. It's going to be training to give you an extraordinary life.
My friend, best of luck to you. Best of luck wrapping up the audiobook and everything you're doing. I'm telling you, if you do that retreat, that island retreat, I'm telling you, I'm going to be customer number one. I'm going to come out there.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Well, my friend, have yourself a great rest of your week, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Jim Murphy. Enjoy the story, the journey that got Jim to the point where he wrote the book Inner Excellence, which has been talked about a bunch. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're reading a book on the sidelines, I guess you get some attention, and a book a lot of people have found out about, and, good stories, good motivation, always down for that. Okay, so do me a favor, if you would, head on over to storyandcraftpod.com. Everything about the show, it is right there. You can shoot me a note. Always enjoy the opportunity to hear from you and just kind of interact. Now, you'll also notice the Supercast logo on the site, as well as a little coffee cup. 2 new ways you can support Story and Craft, all the mischief I got going on here. Also, on your podcast app, make sure to follow the show. That way, every time a new episode comes out, you get a notification. All right, so I tell you what, I'm going to get on out of here. You have yourself a great rest of your week, great morning, evening, a great run or drive in the car or whatever you're doing. And hey, if you are shooting me a note to say hello, tell me what you like to do when you are. That was Ranger, the studio dog, saying hello. Did you say hi? Okay. All right. He wanted to say hi. Just do me a favor. Tell me where you listen. I always like hearing that. Is it during a workout, walking your pooch, whatever you got going on? So I'm going to head on out of here. But as I always say, thank you so very much for making what I got going on here part of whatever you've got going on. It does mean a lot to me to have you here. And we'll catch you next time right here on Story and Craft.
That's it for this episode of Story and Craft. Join Mark next week for more conversation right here on Story and Craft. Story and Craft is a presentation of Mark Preston Productions, LLC. Executive producer is Mark Preston. Associate producer is Zachary Holden. Please rate and review Story and Craft on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. You can subscribe to show updates and stay in the know. Just head to storyandcraftpod.com and sign up for the newsletter. I'm Emma Dillon. See you next time, and remember, keep telling your story.
Come on.